Well, good morning, everybody. Whew. Welcome to another Brews and Activate, guys. Good to see a few of you guys there in the chat this morning. Love seeing folks, up as early as I am on a Sunday morning for sure. Nice to see you there, Sean and Shannon, for sure. You guys rock. And Jimmy, a lot of guys coming in there. And yes, Sean, you definitely got a front row seat for us. Glad to get you in there, and thanks again for joining this morning. Oh my, we got some good stuff to talk about today. But outside of that, we'll get into that in a bit. We're going to try some new things here. You know, technology is going to be improved. Take it up a notch maybe here on Brew and Activate and see how we go. But before we get into that, let's just say hello to the chat. Good morning there. Good morning, Jimmy. Good to see you in there. And Rabbit Ham, thank you again for joining. All right, let's see here. All right, well, as we start this thing off every week, we're going to be sharing, like we said, the good, the bad, and maybe some downright interesting stuff from Parks on the Air and the Parks on the Air program. So we're going to be talking about everything, as we kind of go down this journey about our latest activations. We're going to talk about tips, tricks, discuss challenges. I'm going to get you guys involved. I finally got some of the technology, moving here and working here. So I'm looking forward to getting your feedback on some of this stuff. And, we're going to get into, our fun and memorable moments, with Parks on the Air that, we all walk away from always having some good stories for the campfire or, a beer or a friendly, drink with another colleague or whatnot. So, as I always say, grab your tea or your favorite brew. Let's get comfy and dive in here. All right. So I always like to start out every week with a POTA tip. And if you've got a POTA tip and you want to share it with us, feel free to send me one. You head over, the easiest way is to head over to our Discord at Live Free and Ham and join the Brews and Activate channel there, and you can leave it there. Or you can always email me, and I don't have my email up here, but you can check QRZ for that if you want to email me a POTA tip. So this week's POTA tip we are going to get into here. This one is if you guys are big vertical folks, what I'm suggesting is if you haven't already taken the leap is get an additional collar. Now, this is a collar for, as a light behind me. Let me make that a little bit bigger. I'll make myself big in here. This is a collar to a, what is it? A Mad Dog coil. But, you've probably seen something similar to Wolf River coils and Res collars and stuff. Although Res, I don't think you can get a separate collar. But most of the other ones that are out there that you find or you build yourself, add a second collar to your vertical. You will find a lot of time that it will help in the long run, especially with quick setup and quick teardown. And they are definitely worth the investment there. So if you haven't already, incorporate that in there. I guarantee you will definitely enjoy and see a benefit from having that second collar there. So that's our quick put. Actually, and I didn't transition. Dang it. And let me go back to that. Let me just show you real quick because I apparently didn't hit the trend. See, I need a production crew apparently. So this is the collar here that I was talking about. And that I'm going to definitely need my second cup of coffee there for sure, Shannon. That you definitely want to make sure if you're a vertical lover, this is where you want to go. This is adding an additional collar to your vertical antenna. And the benefits to that, obviously, is like I said before, you can easily adjust bands and quickly, switch bands. So if you can't stand what I call the, tune and shuffle every time you want to switch bands on a vertical, which, we're going to get into a little bit today as a pro and a con. The problem is that, this is how you solve some of that. And the funny thing is I've got a quick review, and you might see it in the, when we head over to the bench here a little bit, some of our antennas that might solve that problem and, make us more lazy hams, I guess. I don't know. We'll get into that in a bit. So that's my quick POTA tip for the week. And so if you got one, like I said, feel free to send us one our way, and feel free to hit me up on QRZ. I'll make sure I get my, actually, I think the link's in the description for the Discord, so feel free to throw it over there. But at the same time, you can always email me at any time, and we'll be glad to share it as the next week's tip or in the future. So let me take another sip of coffee because I'm going to need it. All right. Okay. All right, so like we talked about, for the next probably about an hour or so, we are going to be doing talking about antennas. This is kind of one of my favorite topics, and let me paraphrase a little bit that I am not an antenna guru. There are guys that are way smarter than me out there that know their stuff on many levels, and I bow to them. I think that I am not worthy in their presence for sure, but I'm always willing to learn something new, and that's one of the things I guess you can kind of take away from this live stream is always be learning, and that, or in the other words, ABC is always be choking. That's another quick tip there that you want to make sure you have. But if you're always learning, you're definitely gonna get better and be more effective when you're definitely out in the field and doing some great stuff in the POTA community. So oh yeah, we got a couple in here, so let me see. We're going to stop here and just take one quick one. It looks like Rabbit Ham said laminate checklist. Yeah, I would say that is a big thing. I don't always run into that problem unless I forget a physical bag. I've kind of combined bags, but yeah, the laminated list is always a plus, especially if you have kits where you kind of have to always combine stuff. But as you kind of get deeper into the we'll say the hobby, you're probably going to learn that, you're just from sanity purposes and just making things easier for your life. The N+1 rule always applies. So if you're like me, you've accumulated a collection of, say, a set of favorite antennas that you always put together and always, put in a specific bag. I learned from the Grouch, N1OG, if you're familiar with him. He does colored bags. Although I haven't made that leap yet, I've got, specific antenna bags for said verticals, for said wire, or my Beach Go bag, that type of stuff. And we'll get into all of those in the future that I'll want to share with you, kind of some of the stuff that I've been putting together. But I've always learned that just spending the little extra time to make sure that every kit is complete and you don't steal from it. Stealing from it will always, cause you to have to go back to your list because you just don't trust what you got in your kit. Yeah, definitely not. So, all right, we're going to go into some of our talks around antennas, like I said. So hopefully you guys are ready to buckle in and share some stuff there in the chat, because, I'm trying to do this in a way that it can kind of help someone, if maybe you're watching, you're definitely new to POTA. Obviously, the folks that I got in the chat here today are very well-seasoned POTA folks, and have been out there and love it and live it. So, yes. Well, there's no problem there with seasonal go bags, Sean, or have it telling Sean that he needs seasonal go bags because there's nothing wrong with it. It's all upside with that, just build small, build slowly. That's, it'll make it hurt less, especially in the wallet. So with our antennas today, we're going to kind of dive into a couple of different things, primarily verticals and wires. I think are a big used resource out there, but not to say that to limit us. That you can't do a loop or you can't do other things, but that tends to be the two categories they kind of fall in, and that is just a matter of your preference. So, what you prefer and where you activate is always going to dictate how you and what you bring with you. A lot of times when I'm doing a favorite park, there's one that I actually got my first kilo on. It was only good for setting up a vertical. It would be very, very tough for me to try to figure out how to put a wire up based off of where I was in the vehicle. And at the time when I was doing my kilo, I didn't really have a mast or anything to put in, a wire antenna with. So I couldn't use the truck as an anchor point. And so, yeah, verticals worked out really, really well. And I think, pretty good with that. It took me a little bit longer, but I think I also benefited at the time when the solar cycle was a lot more active and as we are today. And I just heard from a few POTA folks. This Support Your Parks weekend could have been a little bit better, and it was a little tough around here. And always curious to share some of other people's stories. We'll kind of segue that a bit to break things up, talking about Support Your Park end, because it was this weekend, and it's actually still on now. So if you haven't gotten out, you still have a little time. And actually segues to me really quickly is that I know if you are big fans of Grayman POTA, he's probably got a live stream going too. And the nice part about the YouTube sphere is that it's far, wide, and deep of folks and content to your pleasure. So if you guys are supporters of him too, every once in a while, head on over there. He does it very differently than I do. I like to talk. I like to share, and we like to get into the weeds about POTA and all of the nuts and bolts. He's out there doing it. And so, if you want to see his setup and what he does, head on over to him, check him out, as he's definitely been doing this a little bit longer than I have, but I think we can both exist in the same space and have fun with it and support one another. So, definitely give him some love over there if you get a chance. Oh, all right. Well, before I think I get in the antenna, it seems like a few folks have definitely done Support Your Parks weekend this weekend. Walt says here, 10 hours, 10 contacts in 2 hours. Yeah, that is a tough challenge for sure. I have always, struggled even on a good day, but that can be really tough, especially when Support Your Parks weekend is really busy. I didn't get a chance this weekend to do it. Saturday, I hopped in the truck with the wife to go do some other stuff, and fired up the HF in the truck, and 20 meters was not good. I mean, it was pretty, I wouldn't say silent, but it wasn't as active as I've seen other Support Your Park weekends, and a few other folks that I know in our club locally here in New Hampshire had gone out and activated up on a couple of mountaintops here in the local area, and mostly drive up, but yeah, they set up and they struggled. I think his max was in 3 hours 20 contacts or so. So yeah, the bands have just not been nice in terms of getting out there and whatnot, and so I sympathize with you. So good luck there, Shannon, and hopefully I'll try to keep an eye out on Ham Alert and see if we can work you there. I tried to. Izzo was out there yesterday, doing 20 meters, and I just could not hear him no matter where I was, even on my flex and at home. And yeah, it's just kind of par for the course up here in the Northeast. I think we get beat up a lot, especially depending on where the geomagnetic storm kind of hovers over. So if it's a little way north to us and we hear the words Northern Lights, then we know we're pretty much in for a buckle up and hold on moment, because we're not going to be able to get to get out and experience where, say, someone in the lower 48 might have a little bit better advantage, not as directly impacted to the solar cycle. So all good though. Heck, if you're not out there learning, then really what you doing? I mean, you're not really understanding the purpose of the hobby, and more so just having fun. So if you haven't learned, and I don't know everybody here, I know mostly in the chat this morning, the whole ordeal with Support Your Parks weekend is just primarily about getting folks out there and having fun and enjoying it. But the big challenge, obviously, is that if you try to bring someone new to the event, and you're only making a couple contacts, don't confuse or clutter the air with the, oh, well, it's just a bad solar cycle, because a lot of times I find in my experience is that they don't really know per se what's going on with all of the behind the scenes stuff when it comes to radio, and they'll get to the point where they may enjoy it. So, you making a couple of contacts, I know you're probably looking for like that golden goose of, hey, let's make a DX contact over in Europe and wow them, or, get lucky. If you don't make it, oh, no big deal to them. The eye of them watching how radio is done is way more important than per se how far you got, because eventually they'll get a chance to get that one golden ticket of a contact when they get on the air one day, and it'll just make it more sweeter for them, and they won't be as, it'll be more surprising and more rewarding than it would be than if they had the opportunity out front, like a lot of us did very early on when we got in the hobby during COVID. So all right, let's just scan the chat here real quickly. Well, hopefully the weather does cooperate a little bit better there, Shannon. I can imagine, but heck, just bring all the clothing you need and you'll be good. And the Black Swamp guys, yeah, they are great. I haven't gotten involved with them much. I think we're gonna have to reach out to them as Live Free and have them on and support those guys, because they've been pretty active and doing some cool stuff. So, all right, let's do a couple of things here. So let me pop over. So just kind of catch you up here as always. If you haven't, head on over to our Discord. Oh, why is that? Okay. All right. Things aren't working for me this morning. Apparently I modified things. So head on over to our Discord if you have not. And I don't know why this is telling me that I've got some call to action stuff in here, but it's morning. You guys all, you're fine with it. Either way, heck, hey, if you want to help support the channel, let's just kind of start there. Head on over to my Patreon. The link's in the description and all of our shows here. It helps me support the channel, and I'm looking to kind of build this up, and hopefully we can start to do some more giveaways and other activities like that. So it's always gets us going and helps me kind of add to this list. I've got some other brainstorming kind of things that I'm thinking about, in terms of live streams and a few other things. So if you stick around, definitely, obviously, if this is your first time checking out, subscribe to the channel for sure. Make sure that you're a part of the team N1JUR there, and we'll get you in on this ride, because it should be fun. But if you want to get on the inside, there's some really cool stuff, because I kind of mesh Live Free and Ham and N1JUR together in the Patreon side, so you're going to get a double bonus there. So if you're always looking for fun ways, and you are a Live Free and Ham subscriber too as well, you can get some great rewards there in that process by being a Patreon member and supporting me. And at the same time, I can help support and provide you some really cool things on the other side for Live Free and Ham. My Discord link is broken. I'm wondering if this one is, yes. So we love our supporters, and we have a boatload of them. I wouldn't say a boatload. We have a small little dinghy for right now of supporters. As you know, I am great friends with and love Marty over at Mad Dog Coils. Him and I, he loves supporting the channel, loves being part of what's going on here, and I use a lot of his coils. So if you haven't, or you're interested in getting involved and picking oneself up, if you head over to his website, because I've got a couple of examples here and what we're going to talk about antennas wise, hopefully, and I've got actually a review coming up probably sometime this week for a very special, collar that, or I should say antenna that he's released on his own channel. So if you've been over there and checked the stuff out there, you can see that antenna, but I'm going to give you my insight and firsthand experience with the Lazy Dog there. I'm looking forward to that. So if you don't know what that is, you can always head over to his website at Mad Dog Coils, and all those links are in the description below. And as always, my close and dear friend, Matt at Reliance Antenna, he has been a great supporter of the channel here. And he has always, man, this transition stuff, I got to get a production company to help support me, man. I'm literally in front of it and I can't realize that it's not transitioning. I should just get out of studio mode, make things a lot easier. But he has graciously supported the channel, and he is always throwing some new and cool stuff my way for reviews and helping support him. But at the same time, he is offering, well, that's Mad Dog there. And so let's, man, I am all over the map here today. This one. Yep, that's the same coil one. And oh well. So let's put this to best bed here, because I can't get my call to actions all together, but I'll get that straightened out next week. But anyway, all those links that I just talked about, they're all in the description below. So heck, head over there, support them, get a little bit of a discount for sure. And everybody there can definitely help them out. And if you want to obviously learn more about us, you'll see the little QR code there on the right. You can, click that to get more information about me and everything that I kind of talked about here on the show. And I'm hopefully going to continue to, not hopefully, I'm working towards getting my N1JUR website up to snuff right now. I've, got my hands in so many other things that kind of lags a bit. So my apologies on the content and some of the stuff up there, but we're going to get that updated and in better shape. So, you guys can, benefit from there. And I'm going to start pouring more of the stuff that we talk about here on Brew and Activate on that website there. So always check back if you want to find previous episodes and a few other things too as well. Okay, so I like to do polls and I like to get people's input. And so I am going to dive in here. Let me pull up this real quick here. Let's go to our poll scene here. Okay, so I like to get you guys involved. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little quick poll this morning. So warm up your keyboards there, get your links and, browsers open here. So let me just grab this QR code here really quickly. So what we're going to do is I'm going to throw a couple of questions your way. So the first one here is I want to make sure I get the link here. Copy link is, I want to know, and if you guys throw this in the chat, you can do this from a web page, or you can do it from, scanning your phone if you're watching from your TV or any other viewing source. There is the link there. And did that go through? I didn't see. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do a quick poll. And so while this poll is going on, the question I want to know from you guys, and this one's kind of corny, but at the same time, I want to know, what do you think the best input antenna is? And the way you do this is simple and easy. You can either do it from your browser, and just pop open that link and press the button, or, there is, you guys are already on top of it here. If you want to do a quick, hashtag, you can always throw the hashtag in. If you can actually see what the best pod antenna here is, you'll see by each of them have their own hashtag numbers there, and you can throw those in the chat, and the system will play catch up with that. And we'll come back and review this in a bit. Let other folks jump in. So while that's going on, I'm going to pop over back to my main scene here. So, yeah, getting into some antennas. This is going to be an interesting, conversation. We try to keep this to about, 60, an hour to an hour and a half time frame here, because I know everybody's mornings are a little crazy, and especially being Sports Parks weekend. I'm sure everyone's itching at the bit to get back out. We're gonna try to keep this level set pretty much focused on wires and vertical antennas, although there are variations of antennas that fall into those same kind of categories, and then some of them just kind of don't. So I am not, and I'm gonna put this out in front, an antenna expert. I'm only just giving you what I've learned and passing that on. So, my hope is to, from you guys in the chat and others that, we can learn from one another and kind of experiment and play around. And so most of my experience, I'll have to say, is mostly in the commercial space. I can build an antenna. I've got some electronics background, but I haven't gotten to that. Like, it hasn't bit me yet. And I feel like everything in the hobby is a lot like that. Like, your interest gets opened when you first get in and start, and you're like, eyes wide open, kind of focused. And then you kind of find an area and a niche you play in. Poto is obviously an example. The thing I didn't have time to do was build my own thing. And don't, take this as a stab to those that are the builders, because there is a lot to be gleaned from. And you guys who do this day in, day out, building antennas and creating it, or looking at a commercial antenna and go, yeah, I could do that myself, and do a way better job, or, build something that's, custom to you. That is awesome, and I'm hoping that from those experiences that you're going out and helping others and showing them what you've learned, because the hobby itself is a good hobby, but it's only going to make it better if we all just share stuff, but not in that way that we all condescending. It's like, I've got, knowledge that you don't. Share it with the idea that, heck, you're going to make a smarter, more intelligent, ham. When they go out in the field and they do something, they're able to do it more effectively, because they know when they look at their SWR meter that when the SWR is higher, well, how long is the antenna? Is it shorter or longer? Those kind of simple things, it'll make more sense to them, instead of just become this, gibberish. So, spend the time educating folks, but do it in a way that is rewarding for both you and them. And so, yeah, those antenna builders, keep doing what you're doing. I have run into Ziggy, and he is an MMA guy, and obviously DX Commander, Callum. Those are just two guys that I know off the top of my head that are very, very smart when it comes to that stuff. And, I learn a lot every time. And every time I walk away from it, my head just is, there's smoke coming from the top of my, gray matter there. So all a challenge, and definitely something that is always. Oh yeah, that's Sean. Son, you did the "it's depends." You just literally took my lead-in line there. Yeah, it does depend. But so let's kind of dive in here. So, and I did forget. I have it here in my notes that when we're talking antenna, folks, we all know Salty Walt's done some phenomenal stuff. I mean, his book out there is great, and it's always good. And Smoking Ape is another one, to just name a few. But those guys and folks are all doing, they've got the hands-on stuff. So I love it to see when they build it, or when they take an design and they modify it and go crazy. So all that being said, we're not going to get into per se the theory or the design kind of aspect. We're going to talk about a couple commercial antennas that I've got here on my bench that I'm going to go over to real quick. And we're going to get into some of my pros and cons with them, and what I've, dealt with when I've been out in the field and activating. And really the idea is just kind of share. So, we'll hopefully you guys, in the chat there, just throw out your experiences along the way. And we'll see where we go from there. So let's just head over to the poll here and see where we're at real quick and see how it broke out. So let's embiggen this a little bit. So by the looks of it, let's drag this up here. So let's see where the poll kind of landed here. It looks like, why can I not see this? Wow. Dimensions. Okay. Well, at this point, I can't see this view. Let me widen my screen here. That way I can see what the numbers are. There we go. All right. So it looks like most folks fall into the end-fed world. Yeah. Not a bad antenna. I use them a lot when I get a chance. For me, and we'll dive into a little bit of some of the reasons how and why I use end-feds. They're very, very popular antennas. I mean, a lot of the manufacturers, Reliance and Pactena and all of those guys, all do a great job with a very good antenna that offers a lot of good trade-offs, but at the same time, good performance too as well. So yeah, good to see folks, a lot of wire guys out there. All right, so let's head over to my bench here real quick. Oh, and did my camera go away? No, I gotta remove. Oh, did my camera die on me? Add to scene. It did. Dang it. Technical difficulties galore. All right, let's adjust here real quick here. I'm gonna add a different camera in here. It's not the camera that I really want, but we're gonna make do with what we can do here, because why not? I can't spend 20 minutes crawling underneath my desk here. So we're gonna dive in here real quick. Let me switch transitions here. Okay, so let me get my coffee cup out of the way here. So some of the stuff that we're gonna talk into, and man, it really bums me out. I really wanted to bring in my desk cam here. But actually, maybe let me do this. Let's see if there's another way. I might have a way to do this. Where is my bench scene? Does it show up? Nope, does not. Okay, it does not. That's a bummer. Okay, so let's go back here. Hey, technical difficulties are always fun. Okay, all right, so let's see here. So I am, let's see. Well, we're just going to try. We're going to start here with the end fed, since that seems to be one of the antennas that everyone loves. I've got a couple here for examples, and so I'm going to share those with you real quick. The first one, obviously, I have is the ELFS. This one is, oh my gosh, I just forgot who makes this. This is a Chameleon antenna here. This one was one of my very first end feds. This is a 40 through 10. Offers really great performance, but in terms of said size of this in comparison to, say, we'll grab another. This is an off-center fed dipole from Reliance. You know, size-wise, yeah, they're extremely, you know, no comparison in terms of lightweightness and portability versus, you know, antenna. And this is kind of one of the trade-offs you'll find. And this happens with all wire antennas and even in verticals too, as well, is that there's always going to be a compromise and trade-offs when you're looking at antennas. I have learned that there's always a better way to skin a cat sometimes. And so what you want to do is definitely, like I think Sean said a little earlier in the chat, is, yeah, it depends. But what I would add to that caveat is that it depends on what you grab and where and how much you put in your bags. So here's a little tip I usually do with mine. I always carry an end fed with me. And even though I'm doing, you know, say a vertical, primarily using my vertical, I have this as a backup. And the reason why I have this as a backup is for a couple of reasons. You know, I go out and do an activation, and those that know me, if I do an activation, I am an IT professional. So I'm on the road from time to time. So my activations don't always allow me to do a 2 to 3 hour activation. I usually have like about 40 minutes, 50 minutes between stops, or, you know, trying to fight traffic or trying to do something around, you know, getting back to the office in some form or fashion. So I have to kind of make it quick in terms of getting something up and running and activating. And so I always keep this as a backup, because if my time frame changes and my, you know, appointment slides or whatever, and I have more additional hours, well, the benefit to that is, yeah, heck, now I can, you know, crack out the wire antenna, put it up, and we all know, you know, or you may not know, is that, you know, there are some trade-offs in terms of a wire antenna versus, say, something like a coil. And so, like, this one is the Mad Dog 80 meter coil. This thing's a beast. Like, in comparison to my head, it is, you know, giant, and it is a lot of wire. But, you know, something like this is very, very noisy. It picks up a lot of things, which is great in some cases if the bands are really good, but it also picks up a lot of atmospheric noise, a lot of noise around you, and may not be the best scenario for when you're, like, you know, should put up a wire antenna. And so I've learned when we're out and activating that, you know, it's best to just dive into picking yourself up and setting yourself up with your wire antenna. So, you know, always have it back up, you know, with you. And I think a lot of folks here are saying that Chris has got Chris here Yeah, he's got 20 antennas. We all like to collect, right, Chris? Hopefully all 20 get used in some form or fashion, hopefully. So yeah, so starting with wire antennas, have it as a backup, if anything. If you can't, throw it in a bag, get a bigger bag is my suggestion. So with this, my first antenna, like I said, was the Chameleon. Love this antenna. I use it a lot in field day for our POTA station, for our GOTA station, I should say. So this one used to be in my bag a lot. And then, like I said, I downsized to something a lot smaller, and it took up less space. And I could throw in things like, my SWR meter and make things a little bit more convenient. But if you are, say, not familiar with obviously the smaller, and you don't mind going a little bit bigger or more convenient, this is kind of where wire antennas or end feds in general become more useful in terms of functionality and whatnot, is the spool antenna. I mean, you obviously probably have seen these. These are great antennas that are out there. They are kind of the most popular one now these days. I have used spool antenna, love it. The challenge for me with the spool antenna is my man hands. Like this is literally just like palming a small little frisbee. And I have struggled, and I'll be the first to admit it, I might be just the only one, but I have struggled trying to keep this wire in the spool and trying to find a convenient way to be able to unspool and spool this. And again, it's minor, really first world problems that I'm saying. Nothing for the performance of the antenna that's a problem. The issue is just, for me, coming up with a way. I haven't quite found a good way to be able to unspool and spool this stuff up without having it getting tangled up or whatever. And again, it's just might be just me and how I do it. But like when I have something like this on a winder, I'm always the figure eight guy. I've done that. I was an AV in high school, and I did it for a short time in my early 20s. And so this is one of those things that it's easier to do to figure eight, because that's how I wind my coax. That's how I wind cables in general. And if you don't wind them that way, you're a monster. But we'll talk about that some other time. So the spool antenna is a good antenna too. I mean, it's one of those end feds that does very well. This one's the 40 through 10. There are little things on this one that I mentioned in my video that I would love if I did a counterpoise wire, that the screw would be a little bit more easier to use, and maybe just having some more hand winders, and the knobs for winding itself is a little bit smaller. But again, just those are small little details for such a really good antenna. The step to wire antennas for me is that I try to keep them consistent. And what I mean by that is, with my antennas, I try to stay with not so much one brand, but one type. And so where I have most of my bags that I go either to the beach with, or I go that come with me with my verticals, is I'm always running an end fed. And the benefits to that is that exactly how it can be set up, how it can be deployed, how you can, get it running. Now, if you're, an off-center fed guy, then try to standardize most of your portable bags with the same type of antenna. So you don't have to think about things like that when you're out in the field. You just know, like, okay, with an off-center fed, I have to have X number of points, versus an end fed where I only have to have 2, or I can anchor it from the ground, or I can use a mast off my truck hitch or something to that effect. It's one of those things that, if you do a little pre-planning about how you want to activate, setup is going to be so much easier and so more beneficial for you, and more rewarding, because, you don't have to think about all the things you got to bring. And so back to that checklist. Yes, the checklist is important, but if you kind of group your antenna parts together, it'll pay off in the long run. So here's an example. I don't have them with me, but like with the Reliance antenna, you're going to have the antenna and the wire and the kite winder. If you're going to have, obviously you're going to need the transformer. So this one's the mini. This is an end fed. So you're going to make sure to have that. So there's 2 things. Now you're going to need some paracord, because with the paracord, you're going to need to figure out how to throw it around a tree, and then You're going to need a weight too, so a throw bag. So in a end fed, you're going to have 5-6 items with you at all times. And back to that, let's make sure your kits are complete kind of thing. Your every kit, and it kind of seems redundant, but every kit that I have, I throw it in there, I power corded for every antenna. So when I grab and I go, I know that every bag's ready to go. And then I went even one step further, that if I have, or I'm bringing and carrying one of these, I have a small little pouch. I bought a zippered bag, nothing super spectacular, that basically has a full complete thing of an end fed in it. The only thing it doesn't have is the coax, because the coax always comes with whatever antenna that's operating. So having that, I can just add that to a vertical kit that I already have, with the benefits that I know I'm going to, not have to worry about have the connectors to that antenna, because we all know, BNC or SMA or whatever be the case, I always just put them on the antenna and I leave them with it, and I don't take them off at all costs. That way I know this 56-1 transformer here for the Mini has always got its antenna and it's ready to go, and all I have to do is just hook it up. I even throw in a color coding scheme here, because this is something I really like to do. Matt has been super gracious, and he's sent me a bunch of these, and I always like to give these away. He's color coded these kite winders. And here's a little tip, is that if you, this one's actually really sparkly. You can't see that in the photo there, although it's almost like kind of got glitter in it. But anyway, all that to say that I color code my antenna types. So in this case, the 40-1s are always on for me. If I have an 80-1, I'm on a blue one. If I am interchanging, and this is kind of where it kind of differs a little bit, but if I have, say, like this 56-1 transformer, or I have another one over here, this one, that's just a choke. That's not the one I'm looking for. This is a dipole one that I have here, and so I have its own, wire, winders with it, but all of these, come with a hook, come with the transformer, and everything they need. So whether they're in their own bag or they're in an antenna bag as a support or an additional antenna, I don't have to think about antenna. I also keep a big bag. If you've seen some of my other videos, I have a small little mesh makeup bags that I throw all of the things for extra connectors in, just for, purposes of not having to worry about losing. Yes, Chris. Well, I am not up to 20. I have probably, I'd say about just shy of like maybe 15. Most of them, and I wish I could go pull up my bench cam here, but it is not working, which is a bummer. I've got a couple, mostly a lot of verticals, and so we're going to get into that in a second. And so we'll talk more around that. But so with the end feds, as we kind of alluded to, and maybe if I scan the chat here a little bit here, the pros and cons to obviously end feds. Love them. You can set them up pretty much anywhere you want. You can get them up with very little, few items, wire, a throw bag, anchor points are pretty good. You can get a bigger benefit out of, how the design of the antenna will perform RF wise. I found when I go out and activate with the Grouch, he has, he'll set up his bug out mini, and I'll set up my end fed, or I'll set up my vertical there, and it's night and day. You hear and what you hear, and which one's noisier. But with that, it's a good comparison. It's a good, match to see, hey, can I get this contact because they're louder? Hey, can I get this contact because, they're farther south or north, or, they're off the broad side of the antenna or not. So, it's fun to play in those spaces when you have the time to do that. And I learn a lot, obviously, when we do. But with wire antennas, it's always a matter of just having all of the things you need. So you don't have to think about them, and you just kind of go. Now, with the wire antenna, you're probably going to have to spend a little time. getting it set up the way you want. Now, my experience with Reliance is that, and most, and it's not just Reliance in general, but most packs, pack tenors and others, the way they're cut, they're usually cut for the lower portion of the band. So before you take these things out in the field, or if you don't mind doing this in the field and you have the tools to do it, then go for it. But set it up at home, throw it out in the backyard, get it configured the way you want, and then figure out what portion of the band, whether you're a CW guy, whether you're a digital guy. Digital and CW guys, this is already set up for you, ready to go. You can just throw it in your pack and use it. Sideband, it's a little bit low, for my liking. So I do a little bit of adjustment and get them all set up my way. So I know that these are always going to be for voice, and go that way and not sweat it because my digital setup has another one of these that's just tuned specifically for digital, and in the digital portion, that being said, I don't always take that one out because a lot of times I only default to digital when the activation's not gonna get to 10 and I have the time to set that stuff up, or I remember to bring it. That's the other thing is I don't do a lot of digital because it does require me to bring more things, and so I have to adjust accordingly if I'm going to use it. But I use digital a lot when I do antenna tests. I try to use Whisper and that stuff, so I'll usually bring that stuff with me when I need it. And then the big thing with wire antennas, well, if you're in New England, we do not have a shortage of trees. So maybe if you're, say, out in Arizona, or even on the coast, you might not have the capabilities to always set up or use a tree or use some type of natural support. So, you might bring a mast, and, that is just something you're going to have to make sure that's in your pack and always with you. Not too earth shattering, and all that stuff, but NFEDs give you great performance for, their size and their functionality, and what you have to do to get them up. So let's just scan here real quick. A couple things. I saw some good stuff here in the chat. Yep. I saw someone said that he picked up Walt's book there. Yeah, Walt's book is great. We had Walt on several times. I mean, he's on Northeast Ham Radio, and he's been on Liffrey and Ham, and we talked a whole ton of stuff about the book and the antennas, and he is a master of just getting out there and playing with it and trying it. And I love Walt. Well, he does a really good job of doing some of that stuff. And his book is definitely a great buy for sure if you're looking for some awesome antenna examples, and antenna examples that actually work and aren't buried in theory, which is always a challenge for me. All right, one other thing here. Seeing other stuff in here. Yeah, Chris, 3D printing. It's one of my things on my list to get into. I would love to, start to do a little bit more of that. And definitely, fun to do. And yeah, we had Paul invited Ziggy on to one of our live streams for Live Free and Ham, and he is an interesting guy in terms of getting into the weeds with using was it NNMMA, antenna modeling, and he just he oozes that stuff. Now, him and I talked a little bit and got to know each other. The funny thing with that is that he'll go out and test these antennas, and he likes to test them, but I'm more I'll just test it, tweak it, and not really understand the underlying theory a lot of times to it. Where he's got all of that knowledge, and he can model antenna and go, yeah, this is how it should perform, and this is the the pattern, and so forth and so on. So he's got some really good skills there. Yep, Sean, I always need one more antenna, and that's the way N+1. No, I don't want to form an antennas anonymous because that means I have to admit that I have a problem. I don't have a problem. See, here's the funny thing is I joke around with folks that, who do estate sales for hams, and they have 200, 300, 400 items of older radios and stuff. When they do my estate sale, it's just going to be a big giant couple of boxes full of, various verticals and wire antennas. I think that's going to, in the next 20 years, when that iteration comes around for us older folks, it's all going to be just portable equipment. And they're going to be like, why want to use portable equipment when everything's Tony Stark kind of style ham radio? Do, do, do. So yes, that's actually a good suggestion, Sean. I have something I'm working with Matt on. He's going to send me his 49-1, and I want to try to do a side-by-side comparison. I also have one with a couple of verticals, and so it's one that I've been working out that I wanted to do a head-to-head and struggled with it because our first attempt was a big failure. But I wanted to do a head-to-head of the Mad Dog, the Resintenna, and the Wilford Recoil, all their 80 versions, running a whisper test all at the same time in the same location. So we had a firm, consensus of, that moment in time, how that antenna performed, who they heard, so forth and so on. And so that is coming, but it takes a little bit of time to coordinate and work out all those kinks because it's a lot of moving parts. So yeah, we can definitely do a 49-1. And Jimmy, yeah, you can stop, but don't. Well, Shannon, he is your club president, but he doesn't have a problem. He's just setting the example for all the rest of you. Okay, so let's dive into our kind of next part here and talk about verticals, which we're coming up at the top of the hour here, but appreciate everybody there in the chat. It's good to see everybody's, and definitely pass this around. Let folks know that we're doing this stuff and we're just sitting around talking POTA and having conversations. And we've got a lot of topics to talk about in the next coming weeks, but hopefully, as you guys stick around and you are part of the channel over there on our Discord, we'll want to invite you guys on and we can all just, share our insights and talk more about that stuff. So it'd be fun. All right. So my favorite, and I am a vertical lover, I'll admit it. I've got a few of them. So let's talk some of the verticals. So I have, as you already saw the first one here, my very first antenna. Let me grab them here for a sec. Sadly, this would have been better if my oh so actually, Chris, that's a good thing here. Let me switch this over here. So let me show you this cup. My daughter made me this cup, and this one says it's Beavis and Butthead, a big lover, grew up on this as a kid and teenager. It says, "I am the great ham radio, give me TP for my J-pole." And I'd flip over the bottom, but I've got coffee in here and there's a little statement there. So she made that to me for a Father's Day a long time ago. And so I love this and cherish this. But I'm going to throw this out to everybody. So I would love to see you guys. If you guys got some funny ham radio cups and you want them shown here, feel free to send them my way. I will be glad to fill my coffee up with them and showcase them here. I've got a couple designs that I'm working on, but, they're a little further on down the list. But if you got a few you want to send your way, or, maybe the Hillbilly Ham Radio Club's got their own official mug, I'd love to showcase it here on, this show for sure. So, yeah, I'm hoping I can get her to kind of do a design here and maybe get away with it and put it on a T-shirt. But if you guys like to see that on a T-shirt, for sure, let me know. I'll see what we can do and put it in the Live Free and Ham store for N1JUR specific. So, okay, let's get into some of the verticals here. I'm going to hold this one out for a second because that's a review coming soon, but I'll talk about it anyway. So I've got a couple of verticals here, and obviously everybody knows what this is. This is the tried and true kind of token vertical that everybody knows about. This is the NFED. This is the Wilford Recoil Silver Bullet 1000. This is the original. So this one is definitely a museum piece, although it does get a lot, or used to get a lot of seat. Until if you, those that know, and I don't think you can see this on the video, let me bring it close to the camera. So see that indentation? That's not because of use. That's because of too much power from running digital modes. I didn't learn about that soon enough, and in my attempt to learn more about FT8, I kind of collapsed the inner plastic here. There is a newer one that he makes that actually can handle that extra power. But come to find out when I learned, that you're probably not supposed to put more than, say 25, 30 watts of power these things for when you're doing heavy duty cycles. So yeah, I got a little indentation on this, but this is my first coil. I got into this with, as I mentioned in the first episode of Brew and Activate, by reference from K9VBR. He had done a review on it when it first came out, and then K Murder did one. So I drank the soup, and I should say drank the Kool-Aid, not the soup, yeah, bought one myself, bought all of the attachments, and I had a blast with this thing. This one is easy to set up. Now, again, I know people's experience and mileage may vary, but the one thing I learned with coils, and if you're ever interested in how to tune these properly, get yourself an SWR meter. That's the best thing I can say is, get yourself like a rig expert or VNA or anything, and learn how to use that first before you apply it to this. But this, once I got this set up the way I wanted, I loved it. Now, my biggest problem is that I hated to get up and switch bands when I was doing a lot of band switching. So I purchased the second collar here, and then I just basically set that collar, where I wanted after I tuned it. And there's a trick to tune things too as well, based off the collar positions as to what bands you want. And then I just locked it in. And 9 times out of 10, the only thing I really ever had to adjust was the whip itself, which made it really, really easy. My ground radials I had like 18 of them at 12 feet each, and they were all off of the base of the coil. And you could see those in some of my earlier videos if you're ever interested in seeing that, or if you want to see more pictures, let me know, and I'll make sure we post them up on the Discord. So yeah, this is one of my favorite original antennas there. But from that, I came across something, I think actually, again, when K Murder decided to come and Mad Dog sent him a coil. He sent them, I think, the 80, which is this beast here. Now, the one thing I love about the 80 and why I use this a lot, and Marty's an awesome designer. He does a great job with making antennas and verticals, is that, he's very honest about what he does and how he builds and why he builds them. But the one thing that I really loved about these was the coil itself, and everything in the antenna itself is pretty much rebuildable. So whether you want to buy new caps or you want to be able to expand the antenna, you have really a lot of versatile options. And so with the woofer coil, I had to integrate, and those that know, your base has to have all your ground radials tied to it, which is fine, no big deal. You just put power poles and power poles on them to make it detachable, and then you create your ground radials. With the Mad Dog, Marty gave you options at the bottom and color coded them to either make pass-throughs, which I think is the black version. It's been a while. No, the pass-through is the red. No, red is not pass-through. My mistake. I always get this screwed up. So red is basically tie your ground radials in through just like a banana plug, or you can do a pass-through option where it just bypasses that, so you can tie into your system, your setup for ground radials and whatnot. Also a total bypass that if you want to just use. So there are many options, and this is the original 80. But he gives you a lot of capabilities, both in the adjustment of the collars and the location. But the one thing that really made me super excited about this antenna was, again, like I said, the construction and the collars are so freaking smooth, and they lock in where you want them. Like if you look at the woofer coil, you have what we call, or what I call, collar lag or sag. And the problem with the sag is that it drives me bonkers. Like I can't tell where the tab really is sitting on what collar, and it just doesn't stay, level. And that's where my OCD kind of kicks in a little bit. So, this has made things much easier, and it literally locks in. And these collars are super strong. I mean, they're meant to hold the water pipes and a bunch of other things and whatnot. So, yeah, I run this with my 17-inch whip. I use the bottom because he can do multiple threads. This is the benefit. So if you want a 1024 thread, he can do that. He can do metric. He can do metric on the other end too as well. So you literally can get this any which way you want. Where the woofer recoil kind of like, it's a complete system, and you have to use their complete system. And That's not a dig at all. If you definitely want that, but if you want the capabilities to put this on a, say a video tripod or whatever, you can do that without worrying too much about how you're going to tie in your ground radial system and that type of stuff. This thing is also substantially thinner and lighter than this beast. Now, this is the original. This is way lighter, way smaller, and my bag, definitely, I can fit more other things in there than carrying this around. So just, kind of those comparison things. I still wouldn't take this on a soda, but in essence, I love this thing because in a brief moment, I could use this as a weapon. That, just say it. There are a few parks that I've been to here in the New England area that, you let the sunset and you're like, okay, I should be carrying some form of weapon with me because you never know. So yeah, this is the 80 through 10 here. So you have all the flexibility. And so from there, I really want to step up, and this is where Marty really kind of kicks this thing. And this is the 80 coil, or 160 coil. So you add this to your 80 on top of it through the thread. And we did this for field day one year. And 160 came alive. Now it was compromised a little bit, but heck, if you want something that you don't have to string 400 or 200 and 300 feet of wire. Yeah, that is, something to, definitely, consider, especially if your footprint is small. Yeah, let's dive in here. So yeah, Verticals JP12. I haven't got my hands on one of those yet. I'm probably going to have to talk to Radiodity because I've emailed them several times, and apparently not a big enough YouTuber to get one in the list there. So, if you're listening here, Radiodity, it would be one of those things that I would love to test the JP12. I know other people have. So yeah, I would love to have it in the the stable here and fool around with it. Or maybe you go in yourself and you want me to do a quick review on it. I'd be happy to do that and send it back to you. So there's always that too as well, and maybe do a comparison against some of the ones I've already have here. What do you mean by 17, Chris? Where you refer to the coil? Okay, now. This one, I'm not going to get into too much detail. This one is one of my new favorite antennas because, heck, I always like adding technology to antennas. This one's from Marty, and I'm only going to touch base on this a little bit. This one, I am doing a review on, so this one's coming to the channel this week, so keep an eye on it. This one is called this Little Dog, the Little Dog antenna. So this is a 40 through 10 coil. This one's a lot beefier, which is nice, but he's got his lazy dog attachment. Let's just say this is a game changer for me because I set all the bands I want, and I can set up to 3 with the whip, 20 and 40, 15, 20, 40, 15, 30, 40, whatever be the case. And once those collars are set, I can, from the convenience of my operating engine, switch through a little coax switch or through a little switch there over Ethernet, and boom, I'm on 15. Boom, I'm on 20. Boom, I'm on 30. And I don't have to go and readjust. And that's kind of one of the pros and one of the cons as a vertical antenna is that you do have to go and make those adjustments at the antenna every time you want to switch a band. Now, it's not the end of the world. Yes, it is a little inconvenient, especially if you have to walk all the way over, and then you have to do the dance of going back and forth here, because as we all verticals, you become a shield, or you become a ground or an interrupter with those antennas. And so you end up, causing some SWR interference with the antenna. And so, yeah, you have to spend a little time going back and forth. That, for me, I got out in the field. I was blown away. It is fun. I didn't have to touch anything, and I could pop between 3 or 4 bands without anything except a little rotary switch. So let me, I should have that here real quick. Let me grab that. So that little rotary switch is basically just this little box here, and it's numbered. And so it's all Ethernet based and runs off of 12 volts off the side. So yeah, that's coming to the channel this week. So stay tuned and check that out if you're interested. Great antenna, great, easy setup. And once you get it configured the way you want, I love doing that. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to get a bigger bag for this, because if you look at this in comparison to the size of my head, yeah, it's not gonna fit, existing bags. So no big deal there. We'll make an adjustment and we'll just add another bag. Cool. All right. So let's just do another quick poll here, because I love polls, and see where you guys are at. So we covered a little, obviously, some of the mostly commonly used antennas, verticals, and wires. There are a bunch more out there. I'm always curious. So let me just do a quick poll here for poll. There we go. So let's do one. If you're a vertical lover, I don't want to leave you out here. So let's hide this and put the verticals up. Okay. So here we go. I just want to see, I want to vote for the best vertical here. So maybe you guys are vertical users, or maybe you've heard of, seen them in action. Feel free to grab you the quick link there and throw that in the chat. And so, yeah, I'm curious, what do you guys think? Who's the best vertical out there? And these are just a few. There's definitely a lot more. If I missed one, let me know. But these tend to be, most commonly used ones out there. So let me know there in the chat what you think. You can use the hashtags there that are associated with each of those. So feel free to do that. And so while that's humming along there real quick, I am going to go pop back here. So let's go back to my main scene here. All right. So curious to see where you guys are at. So while that's running there, any other antennas that I kind of missed that you guys use often in the field? Throw that in the chat. Okay, Rez. Yep. Oh, interesting. What do you have the full? Which one do you have? The 80, the shorty 40 there, Sean? The any of you guys just use like any of the chameleon verticals at all? Yeah, Rez is definitely going to attend there. I have not gotten my hands on the chameleon side of antenna, although great hardware there. Good verticals for sure. 80 meter whip. Yeah, that's definitely big. Now, you using the mill whip, or you using an adjustable one? So while he's responding to that, yeah, Rez, for me, and I love their construction. If you ever want, like, there are antennas, and then there are antennas created out of, like, for the gods kind of thing. And Rez is definitely one of those antennas. They are very, very heavy, and very, very well constructed, built, I think, pretty much out of, big chunks of aluminum. And, shaped and hand carved like they're, doing the Mona Lisa. Beautiful design, great construction. I was very thoroughly impressed when I received it, and did a review on it. And it performed very well. It was a little different for me because I am not used to having more than, usually on most of my antennas, you can have two adjustment points. It's either the vertical whip that you can adjust for SWR, or you can adjust the collar. And so my, usual MO is that I'll lock the collar in where it's supposed to be, and then I'll use the vertical whip to make the adjustments. With Rez, for me, they sent us the mill whip, and the mill whip doesn't have any adjustment at all, and it's all on the collar. And to be honest, I struggled time using it, and I did a video way back. You can go check it out on my channel. But I struggled a bit because trying to find that sweet spot collar was a little bit of a challenge, but not too difficult. It became difficult when we tried to do the head-to-head challenge. For some reason, we just struggled, whether we used the mill whip, or we used a 17-foot whip, or we used a 25-foot whip, and that collar. We just could not, for the life of us, get the antenna to come into, at least a decent SWR. I think we ended up finally just settling on 2-to-1. But yeah, it was one of those things that it's definitely a different antenna. I love how they constructed it. I love how they took the time to create, very much a beautiful design, and something that, can take a beating without, too much of a problem. So, yeah, hands off to them. You definitely pay per ounce, per pound when it comes to that antenna. And, it's definitely got some good Okay, it's got the telescope. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would say that telescopic antenna probably would have been, definitely helpful. Like I said, in that second test that we did, we just couldn't get it to, behave the way it was. But yeah, definitely, I love my chameleon, telescoping whips. That's obviously a topic because the ones that come with the woofer recoils, are kind of cheap. And so I traded all very fast once I realized that I was beating the tar out of them. Okay, so let's real quick pop over to our poll here and see how it broke out. So looking at the best vertical here, takes the cake out. Did it? Yeah, come on. Oh, there we go. Let's see if we can zoom this up here again because it doesn't like to show. Come on. And these polls sometimes trying to get them to be bigger. Okay, so it looks like if I transition here so you guys see it, looks like number 2. So the res antenna. Yeah, definitely good antenna for sure. I have, like I said, used it, loved it. I at a period of time, I think when I had it and he was asking for it back because I had kept it a little too long. He was like, yeah, you want to just buy it? I'm like, I would love to, but having another 80-meter coil in my bag that would just be sitting there and not doing anything except, getting taken out every once in a while might be a challenge there. So all good. Okay, come on, video. Stop playing up. Excuse me. All right. So I'm curious, just real quick, because I got a couple of questions here. When you did, whether you're vertical or unfed, I'm always curious to see what folks are. What have you guys kind of learned? Like what one gleaming thing, or maybe a couple there, when you went from antenna to antenna that you learned? Like I know when I had my Reliance antenna versus my Chameleon LEF, it was a little different. I didn't have to tune one or the other, straight out of the box. One of them definitely was, performance wise, weight ratio to, deployment was definitely a difference for sure in getting things out. But, any weird things or things kind of noticed in, deploying your configuration there for wires or even verticals for that matter. You can throw both of those in there. Oh, okay, cool. Good job there on bonding your Tacoma. It's always a good thing, especially with verticals. I know with my ATAS, that has all been done and it's been great improvement. So yeah, keep up good work with that. Yeah, I keep forgetting, man. And maybe you guys can help support this. If you haven't already, just make sure you like this, subscribe, and be part of the channel. If you haven't already, I know most of the folks here in the chat are and great supporters. So again, thank you guys for being part of that and helping us, continue to grow the channel here. And always interested in acquiring more antennas. And if there's maybe antenna, here's an example. If there's an antenna that you guys know of that I haven't touched, and you'd want to see me do a review or get my hands on one, definitely let me know. I'm happy to always pick one up, like the J12 as an example, and I will definitely see about seeing if I can get Walt to send me his for a little while, or maybe if you're out there, make sure you pass on the good word, because that's actually funny how I got a hold of the res antenna. Was somebody had heard that I was looking to get one of those, and so anybody that knows Radio Oddity, tell them that hey, I've been knocking on the door for a while, so maybe they'll send me a review and we'll see how it goes. All right. So, well, we're getting close here to the end of the show here, but, overall, hopefully this was sort of helpful. I mean, I'm kind of, I've got a bunch of different topics that we're going to kind of dive in week to week. So if you've got a couple that you want me to kind of dive into, as always, you can always head over to our Discord there. And pick, a topic there, place a topic there in the chat. And all those links, again, are down at the bottom in the description there. So come be a part of, that channel there. And, hey, if you aren't already part of the Live Free and Hand community, there's a whole bunch of other great stuff happening on over there. So always glad to, have you guys be a part of that, too, as well. But, antenna reviews, definitely let me know. I'm always interested in doing either verticals. I tend to lean more towards verticals, but wire antennas definitely are a great option too as well. If there's somebody out there that you haven't seen that you want to see and get a good review. And yeah, outside of that, is there, I'm trying to think. Yeah. Outside of that, yeah, I don't think, we don't really have much. The only other piece is that I mentioned earlier at the top of the hour, both myself and Gray Man Poda, if you have him as a subscriber too as well, he's out there doing the live interaction, the live streaming with a Poda that he does. Him and I both love Poda. We both love talking about it. He's obviously, off doing it. So if you want to see real live examples, you can go check him out for sure. But, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts here. This is the nice part about Brew and Activate. I'm going to start talking and getting into some of the stuff eventually down the road where, we're going to get into the, we'll call soft underbelly of Poda. What weird, mysterious stuff have, you two with, maybe some shenanigans going on with other activators or things like that. We're going to definitely get into some of that. So if you're into the juicy drama, we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, we'll definitely keep going into some of this stuff. I figured we'd start a good foundation here and talk about antennas and, talk a little bit about my, Poda background there. If you hadn't missed that, you can pick up that in last week's Brew and Activate. But yeah, we're all about, just talking community, having some fun. So we always appreciate all you guys help supporting the show. And always love the feedback there. So, feel free to pass this link on to other folks that might be interested and are sitting at home, with their morning cup of coffee and wondering what to do for, 90 minutes of their Sunday morning. Well, send them on over here. We'll definitely glad to have them and would love to, continue to, keep this going. So like I said, Brew and Activate, we are here every morning from 9 to 10 or a little after 10. And always appreciate you guys. So pass the link on. You can always learn more by hitting the QR code there on the screen, bottom right there on the screen. And we always appreciate everybody's feedback. And thanks again for hanging out with us today. As always, you can reach me over at my website, n1jur.com, and hit me up on the Discord if you haven't already. I'd love to talk to you. And with that, until next time, I'm Eric, and put on, guys.